Hello, how do? It has been quite some time, at least a couple of months, since the last true dedicated episode of the Cascadia Transit Expansion Project series. Whereas today, we're finally picking it up where we left off, which is entering into Phase 3. It's Europe, baby. It's the final goddamn countdown. I say this because it is literally the grand finale is Stage 3. And I wanted to showcase to you, to start, just what the current set of lines I have made so far have came to look like as a network across Washington, BC, Oregon, and yes, even down to the border with California and into the Boise metro area of Idaho, which then, once we're done with the Cascadia side of things, will just expand into a more regional network of HSR and ICE. That's going to obviously go down into California. It's going to go even further through Idaho, and it's going to connect down, obviously, through Utah. Sorry. This is that network. I just realized I screwed that up. So, this is the complete network. Notice the differences? It's not just the coast here on the Oregon coast as we keep going south. It's also this right here, because this needs to be connected in order for people to make a transition from, say, Boise up into Spokane. Let me officially showcase to you the Kitslympic Line here, starting in Silverdale at the Silverdale Transit Center, or technically just outside of it, right here. Obviously, there would be not just ramps down to either side and either set of sidewalks. It would also likely connect directly into, or have a footbridge that would connect directly into the transit center itself for obvious reasons. So the next stop north of there, as we go north, is obviously right up in here at the next transit center, in fact, which, as you can see, is Poulsbo. So Poulsbo's transit center, which is in a really stupid and shitty location. Even with the sprawl going on here, probably, it looks like. I think it's in a really bad location, personally. It should be pretty much more central. In fact, this is obviously Poulsbo Central, so I don't know why they don't put it there, but instead, they put it here. Very stupid. Anyway, that's the second stop, of course, and again, as you can see, the greater area as they keep sprawling and everything else, and further developing things. I mean, this is clearly going to be sprawl the way that it is cut out. Same up here, right? Everybody has good road access from all these different regions, including up here. You get the idea. All these different places up through here are, in fact, connected pretty easily. So they have a short jaunt there. I took way too long to hem and haw about putting a stop either in here or just outside the transit, or the transit center, the state park here. And then I took more time to then think about, should I put it here? Should I put it here? It splits the difference nicely, but no, I went into downtown Port Ludlow. As much as I don't want to be able to have and kind of cater to the tourism and the richer bastard, populations, at the end of the day, the marina's here, there's a bit of a park area here, obviously the resort's here. You got multiple other hotels and such. And obviously a lot of people are going to be tourists. They're going to come through there, but it still is relatively central to the development. So I thought, well, what the hell? So considering that here's a road here, that connects into this road, that connects into this road, you get the idea. So the next step, the next one is Port Hadlock / Irondale, which is all the way up here. And as you can see, I decided that good area for potential redevelopment right here at the apex and at the corner. And in fact, if you wanted to, it would be really smart of them to occupy, like, shift this a little bit northwest, and then put in a roundabout right here. That would make a lot of sense. And then nobody would really have to give up much land area, especially considering it would be mainly the parking lot that would be cut down to size. And for the big, I think it's a Walmart, I encompassed this corner here because there's a bus stop there, and I feel like incorporating a bus stop directly would make sense. But this path is because I wanted to have a path that would connect down here, go past the Boat Institute, let's call it that, and then it goes around here, and it would basically continue the path, but just wouldn't be part of the transit center path anymore, obviously. But it would be your connection, go through here, obviously go along, basically build in an obvious sidewalk here, and then slap that puppy all the way through here to the docks, the marina, and everything else. Horse, and then down here into the little bay. Next stop, of course, is Port Townsend. So, of course, you fly all the way up through here, and eventually you curl into Port Townsend here, merging with two other lines. In fact, technically, there's the prior merge, as you probably saw, is right here. And then you go through here and eventually end up at the central station here in Port Townsend. I actually, once again, spent a bunch of extra time there in those 2 hours, hemming and hawing about if I should move this up a little bit and put it actually like right here, the station, because then it would be directly outside of and directly accessible from the ferries, the ferry dock, because there's at least 3 different lines, if not 4, that go to and from this pier. But I decided against it because I could tell that obviously I chose this spot because it's right outside of kind of the main tourist area and visitor area, the main drag, kind of downtown, right? As well as it's right there, quick jaunt to the ferry and back and forth, quick jaunt down to the marina. And the most important factor is this right here, because this allows you to connect up into the north part as much as it allows quick, easy connections from the south part of town. So that's why I chose this location, because it's pretty damn central. And that is the Kitslympic Line. It's basically just a quick little community, or basically intersound connector, if you will. The Olympic Peninsula Express North starts in Port Townsend, goes through here, starts in Pete Townsend, how about that? Goes through here, and goes around town, by and through Blinn, past here, and ends up in Sequim, or, as Washingtonians insist it's supposed to be said, is Sequim. I can see it, I hate it, I refuse to call it that, it's Sequim. I took too much time to try to figure out where the flip dick their transit center was. It is apparently here. You can tell it's relatively new in terms of its build. And same with, obviously, the Civic Center here, right? Cool, I suppose. Problematically, I hate its location, and I hate especially this being called a transit. This is what I like to call a pseudo-transit center. Sure, you have a nice, dedicated building, but what the fuck is this? There's not even capacity. There's not even room for potential expansions in the future. And then you just have this, where you just have to go... Bleh. It's gross. And I hate it. Oh, yeah, apparently there's another bay right here. On the street. Hate it. That is a pseudo-transit center at best. Anyway, I realized there's too good of redevelopment potential in these blocks. So, I'm going to put it here. It's only off by 1 block anyway. Kidder corner or adjacent, however you want to say it. So, there you go. And then this, of course, would have ramps down into, or not even ramps, it would have footbridges into what would be a mixed use, like, you know, say 5/1 building right here, maybe 6/1 in downtown. And also, I felt like this was pretty blighted. I mean, you can tell from both Google Earth and Google Maps that this is just nasty looking. You can tell it's just falling apart. And then there's basically nothing going on here except for a mobile caterer, so why not? This is not that well rated, and not only top of that, there's very few ratings on it, and it's just a carpet store, so like, get rid of it. And then this is a coffee shop, a coffee spot that has 8 reviews, I think it was, and all of them are negative. It's a 1.8, so might as well just kick them to the curb and say, get the fuck out of here. So just considering it's just a little drive-in bar, so waste of space. Like myself. Takes one to know one. Anyway, and then the next one I decided was going to be not East Port Angeles, sorry, but Carlsborg. I figured, what the fuck, why not? So you can go, and then you have your footbridge here, immediately turns into a ramp once you're over the shoulder sidewalk, boom, come ramps down, wabam. Now you got the crosswalk on this side, and there's no crosswalk here, which is fucking stupid. I hate it when they fucking do that with intersections. There's no reason there shouldn't be one here. So, there you go. Problem solved. You got 2 right here. And then, I figured there's enough land here. Why not occupy it? Figure out something to do with it. So not only was it a ramp, but you could have a small, like, local merchant slash boutique space, basically right here in a 2, 3, 4 story. And then obviously this actually doesn't even have anything registered to it on Google Maps. So I thought, well, obviously it must not have anything going for it, even though there is a couple of cars parked outside of it. It doesn't seem like there's a business in there. And it's a prime spot and location to just say, fuck it, let's redevelop that. Say 3/1 mixed use. I think it would be perfect for Carlsberg there. And then, of course, we go even further over to where it gets interesting, because it almost becomes a bit of a light rail. Instead of a normal kind of ICE or IC or even regional line, it's a little bit more of a local once you enter Port Angeles. So East Port Angeles, I figured to put a station here. This is a green space. You can keep it as a park or green space. That's fine. Do your little ramp, winding it down. Boom. Or even like this. Boom. You know? And still have your park space, green space. Be nice. This, there's nothing really going for this business. And it's also badly rated. So I thought, fuck it. Get rid of it. And redevelop it, because it's just otherwise an empty fucking lot anyway. So might as well redevelop that a bit as well. Same thing going for this, of course. It'd be mixed use, 3/1, 4/1, doesn't matter. Wabam. Now you have, say, probably second story, boom, footbridge into it. You have this corner reserved for people getting out of the station and to wherever they want and need to go to. We have no more potential redevelopment here. I decided to call it Port Angeles Ennis Trail because Ennis Trail is like right here. So I thought, fuck it. And everything else is called Ennis around here, especially transit-wise. So, Port Angeles Ennis Trail, since there's apparently no neighborhood or district name there. Then you got, of course, Port Angeles proper, so the central station. And then, last but not least, you have the Marina Station, which you could still scrap. I kind of like the idea of having the Marina Station here anyway, so considering there's a decent amount, as you can tell, more residential and everything else west of here. And then, of course, you have the airport right here as well. And in fact, technically, if you wanted to, you could even go through this gut, follow it through, and then curve around and head out right to the airport as well, if you wanted to. I don't actually know if Port Angeles has any commercial flights. You might think that's a stupid question, and like, no shit, it obviously doesn't, dude. What? You don't know what you're talking about if you think there's a... No, seriously, because Salem has commercial flights, and they're trying so hard in Lincoln County and in Newport to get commercial service restored. Yes, restored to the Newport airport on the coast. And that's like half the size, if that, in population of Port Angeles, I'm pretty sure. Again, there is precedence for this, and there's a bunch of other examples like that. Pendleton obviously has a commercial airport. Pendleton didn't lose it. It was Klamath Falls who lost their commercial flights then. Klamath Falls lost their commercial flights. Medford still has flights. Southwest Oregon Regional Airport, that is, of course, Coos Bay. They have it. I mean, there's genuinely precedent, so I wonder if there's any kind of commercial activity here. But anyway, I'm getting sidetracked. That's the open line, the Olympic Peninsula Express North. Then we can go on to the ORCA line. So we're going to go in reverse of what it's listed like right here. I don't really care. This one actually starts at the Olympia Lacey station. It's the ICE station that's there. And then you would go from here on the ICE station of Columbia Lacey. What the hell's happening? Of Olympia Lacey. I am having a stroke, apparently. Comes around the freeway, goes around town. So, whoop, hook right, and bam, you have Shelton Station. I really badly, from like way back, I think it was even phase 1, I still knew I wanted to make sure that there was a line that would go up through the peninsula from Olympia, and it would actually service Shelton. Shelton clearly is a lot bigger and a lot more important of a town than anyone gives it credit for. And there's a lot of actually important activities here. There's a prison here. There's the police academy. The Washington State Patrol actually has clearly their training track here. So this is like their main training ground, at least for pursuit tactics and stuff. There's the prison, correctional facility. You have a racetrack, which is actually pretty heavily rated, 878 reviews and on Google Maps, and it's also very highly rated. It's 4.8, which is fantastic. You have the airport, of course. I think you have a couple of military bases out here. In fact, you can tell it's a pretty important port city because, I mean, Jesus. So, Shelton. And this business, it's a tire business, I think. Either, or even it's automotive. Either way, it can go. There's no reason to keep it. And then there's nothing here at all on this block. So I thought, let's just include this on for the whole block piece, and you can redevelop that, especially considering it's in downtown. It's dead center of town. So then you come around and you go norte to Hoodsport, as you can see. Hoodsport, which is right here. And there's potential redevelopment here, or just, you know, your ramp and everything. And it would be basically customized towards a big buffer, because it is, you know, a pretty heavily used highway, especially considering it's the Olympic highway. So, like, everybody's going to try to fucking go to the Olympic Peninsula this way, pretty much. Or to, you know, Port Angeles, Port Townsend, so that way they can stay there for a little bit before they go in to the north, say the Solduke River, so that way they can do the world-class fly fishing there or something like that. I mean, there's a lot of different, so much you can do through there. It's the best way to get to Forks, especially from the main population basin and the main freeway, which is the I-5 freeway, obviously. So, you know, you might as well give a big buffer space at the very least and have your nice solid ramp down. And yeah, you still can actually incorporate a building of some kind into that if you would like. And I don't think that's a bad idea at all, especially considering with this being a complete massive entire regional system for the entirety of Cascadia, you probably want to make sure you have something right smack dab at your station. More often than not, for people to be able to indulge within. And plus, especially if people are getting off here and then they go to a state park close by, or a trail, or they're hiking, or they're camping, or whatever else, congratulations. They automatically, wow, I became Southern there for a minute. I don't know what the hell happened, but I'm sticking with it. I should get my cowboy hat and get that sucker on, and then we can keep this all rolling. But yeah, so you have that. And obviously you have this wonderfully dazzling pier. Anywho, you gotta go up norte to Brennan, so along the Hood Canal quite a ways. Here's your Brennan station. Now, why this one's important is because it's actually very well distanced between Quilcene and obviously Hoodsport. It's pretty much equidistant. It's dead center, which is great. Again, a lot of people also going to try to access the Olympic Peninsula. The Dos Wallis River is a very popular river, not just for sports, recreation, and fishing. It's also very popular because it's one of the main rivers that people like to, well, it's actually really one of the main rivers and dominant rivers coming out of, as you can see, the Olympic Peninsula and mountains. And so there's a lot of roads and other things like this that are going up into the Olympics, which again, this makes this a very pivotal station for people to get off at up here. And then, of course, you have the campground directly across the bridge here. And this is the campground for Dos Wallis State Park, which is all this shit up in here. I'm not sure how big the state park is. I'm not sure how far up it goes. It looks like there's a lot of trails here to me. This definitely looks more like trails than forestry roads to me. Although there's a building there, so who knows? Actually, it looks kind of like a watchtower, doesn't it? It is a watchtower, fire watchtower. Cool. So that might be another camping space. So therefore, I am willing to bet this is, a lot of this is actually probably part of the park. So that's another reason why. So that gives people a direct on foot access to and from a big state park, a popular one. Next step is, of course, as I said, Quilcene, which actually it's a little closer to Quilcene than it is obviously to Hoodsport. Now I think about it, because this is Quilcene right here, as you can see, and there's actually a pretty important road through here too, so why the flip dick not, you know? And then we go up further, and then we do west Port Hadlow Irondale. This is obviously Port Hadlow Irondale station in downtown. And then along the exact same major route, there's the west one. And obviously there's tons of like scrap and junk yards here, which, yeah, a lot of people might consider important and kind of fun to go with. But there's still a couple of them here. So I figured at least this one, if not all of this, can be redeveloped. And then this could even be turned into something. It doesn't have to. Probably should. Whether it's a park or whatever else does not matter. And then obviously you'd have even a park and ride. And then you actually have this right here. And I feel like no matter how new or old these are, this has no reason to exist. You easily could redevelop this and justify it because clearly I bet none of these are really that used at all or that frequented. And they're probably not adding all that much to the entire sequence. And then of course, as you see, that line from earlier, the I believe it's the Kitslympic Line, it merges there as we saw, and then it merges with the ORCA Line, and conflagrations even, not the ORCA Line, sorry, the Open Line, and then conflagrations, they all terminate / start in Port Townsend. And last but not least, we has the Olympia Grays Harbor line. And this is the one that starts right here in downtown Olympia. You can also tell these are a lot older of lines because I was still making them way shorter than I wanted to and way wider than I normally do. So that's why this one looks like this. It would actually go all the way up to here probably. If not, actually, realistically, they're about this long. So it would literally connect directly into the transit center on its north end. And then go down here. This is how long this should be. So I can actually, in fact, you can actually also tell why it's older because it's solid rather than not. And then actually, I like how these look ran down. I'm going to actually have this entire fucking block redone. I mean, we're obviously relatively busy. I don't care. Pedantics, basically. But the thing is I can do with this, though, is I can do this. And it's probably going to be dumb. No, it's not. I think Doge. Oh, yeah, that road's really worn out, too. Oof. But yeah, and then in fact, there's a bus stop right here. Well, that's a weird place to have a bus stop when your transit center's right here next door. You see nothing. And then there you go. So then that's full redevelopment potential, and this is still redevelopment potential. And again, it's downtown Freddie Brown. And then as you can see, this is also a stop too, so they cross each other because of course that's a major important line for the regional / metro line network for the entire sound region. If you want to see how that works in an overview, either in the in-depth or the short one, or you just want to actually see the individual lines that are associated directly in interline and or are transferable from these lines in this video, I highly recommend you check out the Cascadia Transit Expansion playlist, or if in this case specifically, I'll just put the screenshot of the specific playlist that I'm referring to that is literally specific to the sound regions. So yeah, but I highly recommend you check that out because again, that's going to get you all the information you need and all the perspective you need and understanding you need for how important the interlining is basically and the crossover is between lines. So you see this line is swell. Anyway, that's corrected. Okay, great. So now what we can do is we can actually do this line. So yeah, Olympic Central, and it doesn't make any sense not to stop here as well. So Olympia Lacey Station, yes, it's a little too close by, but I said, heck it. It makes a lot of sense to do this, because again, the ice line stops here. So you got to stop there too. And then wabam. And it goes all the way about Charles Bob, goes through here, and stops in the small bean town of McCleary. Right. Very nice. You can see there's a state highway of some kind. I think this probably considered a state highway that connects down into this one. So, you know, it's not too isolated. There's decent population, if you will, through here. And in fact, this is going to end up in like Flower Mound, Ford's Prairie, Chehalis. That road continues up through here and connects back up into Shelton. Well, south of Shelton, but you get the... Oh, God, I don't know what I just did. You get the idea. I'm assuming this is Fairgrounds. Yeah, it's definitely Fairgrounds. Anyway, speaking of the devil, this is Elma. It's we have an Elma station right here. This is actually, now that I think about it, this is clearly just more true regional rail than it is actually an IC or an ICE. It's actually regional. Again, this has been long enough since I made these that it's just, I've kind of forgotten not thought of it too well. Montesano, of course. In fact, look at how short that station is. That is egregious. Cool. Montesano. I'm getting a little OCD here. I'm being abnormally picky even for myself, but yes, we need to see what we are redeveloping. Okay, Montesano, there you go. The next station, as you can see, is Aberdeen. Or Aberdeen. Honestly, I don't know. I don't care. It's such a stupid thing to be semantic about, but people always are. Aberdeen station, I'll fix these in post at this point. This is because I'm annoying myself with how many times I'm interrupting myself doing something stupid. That is a really dumb roundabout with this random extra. That is actually fucking stupid. That is extremely stupid. What is the point of this? Why not just do this? You know what I mean? What, seriously, you can just do this. Force them into this intersection. Wee, whoop. Unless they fenced this off. It looks like they did fence it off. Okay, that's smart. Good. Good dogs. Okay, in that case, yes. You just force everyone coming this way, westbound, yep, up in here, wherever the fuck they're trying to go. That's what they can do. Like everyone else. If they want a U-turn, woohoo. Congratulations. If they want to go this way, great. They can still do that too. There's no reason to have this fucker here. That is the antithesis. Is the exact opposite of what the fuck the point of one of these damn things is supposed to be. And then, last but not least, we come around Charlie's Barn and eventually end up going around Grays Harbor and stop here in Ocean Shores. And though this is the far north end of Ocean Shores, I don't care, because a few episodes down the road, we'll get to the coastal lines, and at least so far, and you'll see how one continues south, of course, through to Astoria from here. So that's all the more reason why I figured spacing between this and the next station makes sense to put it here. Plus, this is clearly considered downtown. Plus, look at all the higher rising resorts or mid-rise resorts. Like, yeah, no, this is definitely center of town. And then, of course, you have this direct line access to the beach and a path to another access point for the beach. And then, of course, you have access to the airport and all this other good stuff here. So that is the 4 Olympic peninsular lines for Washington. I thought about dragging this one originally, just seeing if I could even slightly justify pulling it all the way through and either going through the Hump Tulips here and then making it go the rest of the way south and going through Hump Tulips down, of course, eventually cooking up into itself Ocean Shores. But I'm like, yeah, that's not obviously that viable. And plus, the environmental impact probably isn't worth it. And then also, especially considering the amount of people going through, probably wouldn't make any sense. But then you have this, even if it was a branch line. And then, of course, the other thought was, how about going to Forks, which is actually right here. Connecting Forks up. So you don't have to own a car necessarily in Forks if you don't want to. But I chose not to for the same reasons I chose not to get to Hump Tulips and then down to Ocean Shoals. Plus that's quite a distance without really any reason to stop. And in fact, let me just grab the Sound Regional Rail and the Sound Metro. So you can see how it directly interconnects with those lines. Each of these lines do. They interact with each other effectively. But anyway, there is that. So yes, you can see how those connect up, and then you can see how all these connect into each other, and then eventually go through the, what is missing here, you don't see it, but there is a big HSR and ice station right here in Taco Town. It's located right on this curve, and therefore this is actually directly coming out of there as well. So out of the ice and the HSR stop. So you have a direct connection there, as of course there is a direct connectivity extends over here so that this station platform can connect into the main station there. So literally you have multiple different lines that connect you all throughout this area directly into that main hub network, if you will. And then all the way through here. And that's the one that, of course, connects into Bremerton up through about here. And then you have the Bremerton Loop as you can see here. As we know, the Kitslympic Line starts here in Silverdale and ends there, and of course makes its way up toward Townsend. So that's why you can see that, and that's just that network. Obviously with the Cascadia main line, and then the Cascadia Ultra High Speed Rail. You can see how they directly connect with each other here. And of course down here for the ice baby as well. It's beautiful, isn't it? Look at it go. Look at it fitly go. It's quite nice. I quite like it. But yes, next one is the rest of the Washington Spider lines, at least so far. It's kind of hard to justify anymore Washington Spider lines because it's just these two, and then obviously Emerald Coaster. So if you remove the Cascadia main line as well, and then the Sound Metro lines, and the Sound Regional Rail, where the fuck was that again? Wabam. It's in a weird place, if you like. But anyway, there you go. Those are the two remaining lines that are dedicated exclusively in Washington State. I say exclusively. They originate in Washington, and they pretty much are exclusively in Washington until they basically touch Idaho. So there you go. In fact, I know basically they literally do touch Idaho. I mean, this one goes to Coeur d'Alene, obviously. It's called the Spokane Line. It's technically goes to Coeur d'Alene. You get the idea. So that's next to Epiload. So thank you so much for watching this video. I greatly appreciate it. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below, including alignment options, and also if you think they're viable, or even if you think that you would use these lines and you would like to see them come to fruition. Maybe even they inspired you to come up with your own concepts. I think that would be awesome. So let me know in the comments. And yeah, be sure to check out the official Cascadia Transit Expansion playlist, aka the CTEP playlist, as well as any of the dedicated ones you are most interested in, whether it's the Sound Regional Rail, Sound Regional Metro, it's the Washington State Transit concepts, or the Portland Metro lines, actually, because they have a Portland-Vancouver Metro system concept as well. And of course, you have the West Side bus lines. Any of those playlists, any of those videos, whichever ones interest you the most, feel free to check those out as well to catch up, and also to just see how this goes. And then actually you can even give me suggestions of new lines that I may or may not have tried or implemented yet in the comments as well. I would greatly appreciate that, because I want this to be as collective as possible as well. Quick one extra additional, I just want you to have a gentle reminder that I have a podcast now I host with my buddy and my friend Sean, Off the Cuff, official OTC pod here on YouTube, and we also have a buy me a coffee here. So yeah, and you can get a 7-day free trial of a membership to be able to listen to and watch these episodes. Members get new episodes 1 week early. They get exclusive access to emergency episodes and other special episodes like those 3 days before everyone else gets them. And you get shoutouts in videos. At least that's how far we are right now. Because again, we just launched officially publicly today, as you can see, 11 hours ago. It's actually now longer than that because it was at 8 a.m. Pacific. And every 2 weeks, 8 a.m. Pacific time, you get a new episode publicly. But because it's a week early, you get those, well, and every week in betwixt. And as you can see, I actually fucked that up because I made it go up. That would be every week. So anyway, I'm smart. So yes, just a gentle reminder. And if you want to, you can give her a listen, give her a gander, as you can see. Thank you so much for watching once again. And I hope you stay safe out there. Bye-bye.